Hi guys, Jordan from P&P Campers. I'm just going to be doing a handover video on this Autocruise Forte, or Forte, however you say it. So this one's based on the Fiat Ducato, and what I'll do is I'll show you around under the bonnet, then I'll go all the way around the outside, and then we'll jump inside and I'll show you through there afterwards. So under the actual bonnet itself, over on the left hand side, we've got the majority of your sort of consumable items. So over on the left, we've got your washer fluid, power steering fluid, coolant and brake fluid. And if you're wondering how you get to these two, you've got this little cap just here that you need to take off in order to get to the top of those. You've got your engine oil filling point just here at the top, and your engine oil dipstick is this little red one here at the bottom. Couple of bits of information. So you've got the silver paint code just here, so that's 611, and that's a Fiat paint code. You've got some air conditioning information just here as well, just telling you how much gas and what gas to put in. You've got your chassis plate just here, and that's about it for the information part just there on the front. Your air filter sits inside this little box just down here, and because you've got a vehicle with so basically the engine battery sits under the floor in the cab. So if you want to jump start the van, you've got a positive terminal underneath this little cap just here, and a negative or an earthing point just up here on this bit. And it does say there, only for jump start. So earthing point just here, positive underneath this little cover just here, and that would allow you to jump start the vehicle. Fuel filter sits just down there at the back there as well. That's about it really from the outside. So the bonnet release handle is this one just here inside the passenger door, and underneath the passenger seat we've got your jack and wheel brace kit there. So if you've got a puncture on the side of the road, that's where your kit is. You've got your tyre pressure information just here on the inside of this door as well. So this is a diesel vehicle, and your diesel filling point is this one just here, just next door to the passenger door. Obviously I'll show you on the inside in a minute, but we've got your electric step, comes in and out with this little button just here, like so. So that's just there. Down below we've got your freshwater drain off point. So if you would twist this whichever way it will twist, that's now in the closed position, and that is open. So obviously it's empty at the moment, that's why it's not draining anything out. So you've got a full-sized wind-out awning up the top just there, and an awning light just above the sliding door there as well. So at the actual back of the van, obviously you've got the nice big opening doors just here, giving you loads of access to entry on the back of the vehicle. I'll go through all of this stuff here. I've got a few of these bits in the open position so that I can show you what's going on with those quite important little areas. But I'll carry on around the outside for now. Excuse me. So, yeah, there's not really much else to point out on the back there. You've got your bike rack just here, obviously, on this back door. So just be careful when you're opening up this door not to hit your head on that, because it does hurt, I promise you. On the off side of the van, so we've got your boiler vent just here. So you've got a Truma combi boiler in this one, which, as I said, I will explain to you how you use that when we get inside, but that is the vent for that just there. Got these two vents just here on the outside. These are both to do with your fridge. So if you have got the fridge lit up on gas, you will probably be able to hear a very quiet sort of burning noise, or burner noise, sorry, inside there. If you have access to an electric hookup cable, you would have your hookup cable plugged in to this little point just down here, and that'll give you access to using any of your mains powered appliances, and also any of your 3-point sort of household sockets as well. Toilet cassette locker. So this is a Thetford toilet cassette. To remove the actual cassette itself, you lift up on the little orange handle just here, and then pull the cassette towards you. Once you've got it to this point here, you'll be able to take it all the way out, and then take it to wherever you need to take it. To actually empty it out, twist this little bit just here and drain it out from here. When you're physically dumping it out, you need to be holding down this little orange button here at the back. Push it all the way back in, and make sure that your little tab there is hooked over the little lip. Underneath that, we've got your wastewater drain off point, so you can see there just very slowly dripping out because it's in the open position. But yeah, so same as the fresh water on the near side, you just literally twist this 180 degrees if you want to open it up, and then the other way obviously to close it. The last thing on the outside is your freshwater filling point. So if you do want to fill up your fresh tank, you undo this one just from here, take that cap off, and then you'll be able to fill it up from there. So I'll just hop into the cab and then I'll be able to show you a few bits in here. So you've got quite a nice high spec cab. So you've got 40,000 miles on the clock, so it's literally barely been running. You've got, to be honest, nearly every extra that I can sort of think of. So you've got the factory fitted blinds, so the cab blinds. Now this is not a cheap thing to have, all right? So the full cab blinds just there. That's the same on the windscreen here as well. They meet in the middle with a magnetic strip. Just be careful when you're putting these back, because they are very, very expensive. Just be careful that they, you know, make sure they all go in nice and sort of flush, don't force it. So you've got your cab blinds, you've got the cruise control function just there from that little lower stalk. You've got the 6-speed manual gearbox. You've got your air conditioning from this little button just here. You've got the slightly more modern head unit just here as well. So it has got a little digital screen on it. I believe you can connect your phone up to it and all that sort of stuff. So have a little play with that. But standard sort of bits and pieces, you have got your electric adjusting mirrors from this one just here. Obviously you've got your electric windows, and you can lock and unlock the cab from these two buttons just here. You've got your fog light, that switch just there, and your headlight adjustments from these two. Your washers and wipers are on the right hand stalk, and obviously your indicators and lights are on the left hand stalk. As I say, you've got your 6-speed manual. Hazard warning lights are from the switch just there in the middle. You can lock and unlock the cab from this button here as well. You've got a couple of 12-volt sockets over here on the left, and an auxiliary and USB point just there underneath as well. The rest of it's all, you know, there's not really much else to explain really. You'll notice that you haven't got a centre mirror anymore. Now obviously there would have been when it was first made in the Fiat factory, but when they would have taken it to Swift or Autocruise to be converted, then they would have taken that out, because it's utterly useless, to be honest, when you've got a motorhome, because you've got no rear vision at all. So that is something you do need to get used to. It's just one of those things, but yeah, you'll get used to that pretty quickly, having to sort of use your mirrors on the sides a little bit more. It's quite a straightforward thing. Both of these front seats are swivel seats, so you've got these little handles just here. When you pull on the handle there, you'll then be able to swivel the seat all the way around. The upholstery on the seats are very, very nice, all in fantastic condition. All obviously got their Autocruise symbols on them, and that is the same throughout the entire van, so it's being kept really, really nicely. So just go around now. Oh, just a little side note, if you ever needed to get to your OBD reader, so if you ever had any sort of fault codes come up on the dash or anything like that, if you take this little cover off just here, just 2 screws, and then fold this down, you'll then have access to the OBD port just inside there. Hopefully you won't ever have to do that, but you know, just on modern vehicles, unfortunately they are renowned for, you know, electrical glitches and faults. So that's not just these, it's just all modern vehicles really. So if I just jump into the side door just here, I think what I'll do actually is I'll just close these back doors here so I don't get in anyone's way. Okay, so in the actual sliding door itself, the side door, got a couple of things. So on the actual inside of the door here, we've got a full-size window, and you've got your blinds here as well. So you've got a blackout blind, and you've got a fly screen just here as well. Now that is the same on every window inside this vehicle. So blind and fly screens on the back doors, every single window, okay? The windows themselves, you've got these nice little catches here that you have to undo all of them. And when you open it, you'll hear a little click, like you just did then. You hear it again, and again. And so it will basically just click into position to whatever sort of height you want to have the window open to. Now, the reason I'm saying this is that you have to be a little bit careful with these ones. When you, if you were to open the window up to its full height or full width, and you were like right up against the wall, if you can't push that window open a little bit further to allow it to come back in on itself, you will not be able to shut this window. So basically, you need to make sure that you've got enough space just to push it a little bit further before it will allow itself to come back in. So if I show you what I'm talking about, now that it's locked in position, if I just try and pull it towards us, it is now completely locked and it won't come back towards us. So you need to be able to push it out a bit further to allow it to come back in. All right. Okay, so I think the control panel is probably the next part to sort of explain. So these control panels are very, very simple. Honestly, they are so easy to use. You've got a main power switch just here, which when you turn it on, it will basically give you a couple of lights. It will give you either a light here at the back or here at the front, and that's just telling you which battery is powering the vehicle. So at the moment, we've got the light here at the back. That's telling us that the leisure battery is the one powering the vehicle. So that's exactly what we want. Before I carry on as well, I just thought I'd point out to you that you've got a twin leisure battery system in this particular van. So they are down here underneath these forward-facing seats. So if you ever needed to get access to those for any reason, then that is where they are. And that's the only reason I've got this lifted up. So we've pressed the power button and we can see there the leisure battery is the one powering the van. If I was to press vehicle battery, you'll see there we've now got a light on the front of the van, and this one here has gone out. So now the vehicle battery is the battery that's powering everything in the back end of the van, all of your lights, all of your ignitions, and anything that you want to use. So that, for obvious reasons, is not what we want to do. So if I press back on leisure, we've now got our green light here at the back, and that's what you want to see. The other light that you can see up here is your awning light. So that's just telling you from inside that your awning light is turned on. And if you want to turn that off, you just press the awning light button. So you can literally see if the awning light's on or off, without even leaving the van. You've also got this little symbol just here. That's just going to light up if you put the hookup cable in. So if you plug the hookup cable in, that one there will come on, and it'll just be telling you that it's definitely working, basically. You've got your water pump switch, which will beep at us because we haven't got any water in the fresh tank. So they don't like to be run when there's no water inside of them, because they can end up sort of burning themselves out. So it's just like a fail-safe thing. It will just beep at you if your water tank's empty and you try and turn the pump on. View levels. When I press this, we've got loads of lights coming up now. We can see your vehicle battery voltage. So you've got 12 volts in the vehicle battery. You've got an empty wastewater tank. You've got an empty freshwater tank. And we've got nearly 14 volts in the leisure battery. So that's telling me that there's probably a solar panel on the roof of this van. And if there's not, then the batteries are just very, very good. I'm just literally going to take my jumper off. 1 second, it's very warm in here. Sorry about that, bit unprepared. So you can see when you press the view levels button, it just comes up with all of your levels. So your battery voltage in the vehicle battery, leisure battery, and both water tanks. Cabin lights, that is basically just a main lights switch for the vehicle. So you can see there when I turn this off, all of these sort of like over counter lights turn themselves on and off. You have got various switches around the vehicle for individual lights as well, so you can go around and sort of make it your own with those. But that is the control panel. There's nothing else to it. I don't remember the last time I had any problems with any of these control panels. I think they're very reliable. But yeah, that's it. Next door to this is these two here are both to do with your boiler. I'm going to leave that for a minute because I'm going to explain a few other things first. You've got a couple of light switches just here. But as I say, you'll sort of work all this sort of stuff out for yourself. It's pretty straightforward. This area down here, now this is all to do with making up the extra seat. So you can make this up into another extra seat here. But yeah, it's all, I think it's all to do with the bed and all that sort of stuff. So, but that's not normally the sort of thing I would explain in the video, because it's a little bit tricky to do it all with one hand. But yeah. Now, obviously, when that's laid down, it's flush and it gives you extra worktop space. So it's actually a very, very clever idea. So you have got lots of cupboard space. This brown folder, just so you know, is full of paperwork for the van. So that's just, you know, just letting you know that, really. This next cupboard along, above the sink, we've got a couple of things. So you've got this little plug just here, which is for the microwave. So if you want to unplug the microwave for any reason, you can do that from there. But obviously that's not going to be doing anything at all until the hookup's plugged in, so don't worry too much about that. These two things over here are quite important. So these are both to do with your TV. Now you've got a little switch on the top left hand side of this little booster, which you can see turns it on and off. So this is your TV aerial booster. So that boosts the signal when it comes down from the aerial, which is this one just here. Now basically you've got a little thing up here that you can loosen off, and you'll then be able to push this and move it around to wherever you want to move it around to. Now this is what's called a tilt and turn TV aerial. So essentially you just move it around to wherever you need to move it to until you get a decent signal. You won't get a decent signal at all until you turn this booster on as well, so you need to make sure that's switched on if you're going to use the TV aerial. But just thought I'd point out to you that's where that section there is. Now you've got obviously you've got hot and cold water on the sink just there. You've also got hot and cold water on the sink in the bathroom, which does pull out to meet up there to use as the shower head as well. So just thought I'd point that out to you. That's the hot and cold tap just there as well. Now the reason that I'm saying that, it's not just for no reason. With the water system, when you've got a hot and cold water system in a motorhome, you always have to make sure that you do something before you go ahead and start using the boiler and using all that sort of stuff. That's really important. The most important part of the boiler system itself, well, there's two things really, and it will make sense why I'm sort of telling you this now in a minute. With the boiler, you need to make sure that it's either full of water when you go to use it, and also that you empty it out before the winter. Now, it might be obvious why you would want to make sure it's full of water before you try and use it. If you try and use the boiler when there's no water in it at all, as in if you try and heat the water up when it's empty, then, you know, for obvious reasons, you're going to run into some problems. It's going to start overheating, and, you know, it's just not how it's supposed to be used. So you need to make sure that it's full of water before you start trying to, get the water hot. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. But also, as I said, you need to make sure that you actually empty the boiler out before winter. If you're going to leave this fan in storage over winter, that's absolutely fine. They are made to be able to do that. But you need to make sure that you winterize it before you do that. Now, winterizing can be... I've got another video on this channel that's purely just about winterizing. If you want to watch that, you can do. But the main thing, really, with winterizing is to make sure that you drain the boiler out. Now, to drain the boiler out of its water, you have literally got the easiest way, the easiest version of the boiler drain that you can have. You've literally got a little yellow tab just down there, which you can see at the moment is lifted upright, facing towards us. Now, that is in the open position. Okay, so basically on the bottom of that little yellow tab is a clear pipe, a little bit like this one, and it just goes straight out onto the floor. So when you want to drain the boiler out of all of its water, you lift it up into the position where it is now. If you want to close that drain back off, you lay it down flat. So now any water that I put towards the boiler, which I'll show you how to do in a minute, but any water that I put to the boiler is now going to fill it up and it won't drain out the floor. Okay, so that is how you would drain it out. That's how you would drain it out, just by lifting this up, and any water that's inside of it will now just be draining out onto the floor. Okay, I'm going to leave that in the open position for the moment because we don't need to fill it up. Now, obviously, the reason I'm telling you this now is because when it comes to filling the boiler up and making sure that the boiler is full before you start trying to use it, is that you need to do this same sort of step, really, but in reverse. So you would just come to the boiler. Let's just say you want to actually use the boiler. You want to get the water hot. You want to use the shower or whatever. You would come to the back here, lay this little tab down flat. So that's now in the closed position. And then you would do a couple of things. So you would come up to the control panel and just make sure that you've got some water in the fresh tank. Now, at the moment, you can ignore what I'm seeing right now because I know that the fresh tank's empty. So this is not going to work for me right now. Okay, but you would come here, you would click your view levels, make sure that you've got some water in the fresh tank, and then you would turn your water pump switch on. Okay, once you turn the water pump switch on, if the boiler has been empty, you'll notice that the water pump will just run on and run on and run on. Okay, and that is perfectly normal. All it's doing, when the water pump runs like that, all it means is that there's some air in the system somewhere. Now, in this particular case, the air in the system is going to be the boiler because it's been emptied. So there's a 10 litre void here because the boiler is empty. There's 10 litres of air and you need to fill it up basically with water. So as I say, the pump will just be running on and running on, and it will just carry on running until the boiler is full. Now, when the boiler starts to get full, if you had the tap lifted up like this on the hot side, you'll find that until the boiler's full of water, you just get air coming out through here. It'll just be sort of coughing and spluttering, and you'll know that it's not quite right. So leave the tap in the open position like it is now, and just basically wait until the water starts coming through nice and clearly through the tap. As soon as the water starts coming through and it's not coughing and spluttering and going everywhere now, you can turn the tap off and the pump should turn itself off. So essentially these pumps work on pressure. So when they get to a certain pressure, as in when everything, all the air's gone out of the system, it will turn itself off. And when the pump does turn itself off, that means that the boiler is 100% full, and it means you can go ahead and use the boiler however you want to. Okay, so hopefully that all made sense. But to be honest, the only reason I spend a little bit of time talking about the boiler is because it's probably the most expensive part in this van, so you need to make sure that you look after it. Just doing those couple of little steps. So you've got the cooker area here as well. So you've got a 3-burner hob on the top. So if I press on this little button here, you can hear the ignition going, and when I press in on and round on one of these valves, you can see there that it lights up just like any household cooker really. I have just realized I haven't shown you the gas locker just yet, so I will do that towards the end of the video. The reason I forgot is because it's behind the sliding door, so I just walked straight past it when the door was open. So 3-burner hob at the top, and then underneath that, let's go to this side. Underneath that we have got your oven and grill. Now, to light the grill up, you push in and round to the right with your ignition on. Okay, same goes but the other way around for the oven. And that is it. Very, very easy. Underneath there we've got a couple of things. So you've got your gas valves just here. You've got 2 of the gas valves, sorry. So the green one there is for the oven and hobs just here. So if you wanted to isolate that, you can just turn it 90 degrees like it's so that it's facing the yellow one underneath. The yellow one underneath hasn't got anything coming out of it, so that's why it's in the off position. I would imagine that that's there just in case there was a external gas point fitted. But yeah. So you've got 2 more gas isolators in this little area down here as well. Red one is for the water heater, blue one is for the fridge. So the fridge is just up here. Okay. And as I said, if you want to isolate the gas from any of those, you just turn them 90 degrees like so, and that'll isolate the gas from that appliance. Right, so I think probably the next thing to show you will be the fridge. So if I just jump this side of it, you have got a Dometic 3-way fridge, and what I mean by 3-way is it's got 3 different options of how to use it. So you've got mains electric, gas, and 12 volt. First thing I always mention, the 12 volt here is only for holding the temperature inside the fridge whilst you drive. It is not powerful enough to get the fridge cold by itself. So you need to make sure that you either light the fridge up on gas, or if you've got the hookup plugged in, use it on the mains for a good couple of hours before you leave, and then just literally switch over to 12 volt just for when you're driving. Now the other reason that I mentioned that is that if I try and use the 12 volt now, if I just select 12 volt, you can see there straight away it's giving us a fault code and it's flashing. Now the reason for that is that basically you've got what's called a split relay in this van, and a split relay basically just takes some power from the engine when the engine's running and sends it to the leisure battery, so the leisure battery is being charged whilst you drive, and it also sends a feed to the fridge so that you can use it on the 12 volt. So essentially the fridge uses the engine's power to work on the 12 volt. So that's why it gave us that little fault code and started flashing at us a minute ago. It's because the engine isn't running, so it's not physically got any power. So the 12 volt here is for when your engine's running only. The other two will get the fridge cold by themselves, and like I say, you've got the gas, which I've just selected there. The gas will just light itself up, and it already has done. And then over on the right hand side, you've just got a temperature selector. Okay. When it comes to using it on the mains, you literally just press the mains button there, and it will give us a fault code now any moment when it realizes there's no hookup plugged in. There you go. All right, so it will tell you if you can't use it on a certain option, it will tell you by flashing at you. So at the moment, the only way that I can use the fridge is on the gas, and as I say, it will just light up automatically. So that's the fridge. They can take a little bit of getting used to use for the first times, but it's, you know, it's one of those things. It'll end up being sort of second nature just to sort of come in here and switch it over when you need to. There's a little bit of information just here. It's a little bit worn out, but you can see there all of this is quite right. You can see it tells you that you need to have the fridge level. So you know, if you're parked at a campsite and the van was slightly off level, sometimes you can find that it will light up and it will still try and get cold, but it won't quite get cold. So having the van level is quite important for that. But you know, that's not very important really. You can see all that sort of stuff. A little bit more storage in here, so you've got some spare carpets in there, table and table pole just here as well. Yeah. So I think the last thing to show you on the inside is going to be the boiler controls. Now the boiler controls are, well, they are very, very simple to use, but sometimes people can get themselves a little bit mixed up and confused with these. I try to explain these in like just how simple they are, because they are very, very simple. So try not to like overcomplicate this. So you've got 2 dials. Now on the Truma Combi, you've got the option of using it on gas or electric. So when I say electric, I mean when the hookup's plugged in. Okay, now obviously you know what the gas means. So at the moment, I have only got the gas on. I've got the gas on in the locker outside, but I don't have the electric hookup plugged in. So first things first, I'm going to look at the left-hand dial just here, the one that says Truma Combi E. Now that is basically our energy selector for the boiler. So all this one does, doesn't matter what I do with it, right, I can do whatever I like. All it's doing is telling the boiler which energy to use, whether it's gas, electric, or both at the same time. So because I've only got the gas on right now, I've got it selected here on gas only. So that's our gas only little option there. If I had the electric hookup plugged in and I didn't have the gas on, I would go up 1 or up 2, and that's either 4 or 8 amps of electric. Back to the middle is gas only, and if I go down 1 or down 2, we've got a mixture of gas and electric at the same time on either 4 or 8 amps. So the one, as I say, the switch on the left just there, it literally just tells the boiler down here whether to use gas, electric, or both. Okay, it doesn't actually tell the boiler to do anything at all apart from which energy to use. Okay, so as I said, first of all, select your energy. So I've chosen gas only. The one on the right is this sort of more important one, really. This is the one that actually tells the boiler what to do. So if I go up 1 or up 2, we've got hot water only. And that will just literally just start heating the water up inside the boiler, and that's it. That's what it does. Back to the middle, turns the boiler off. If I go down 1, we've got heating only. And if I go down 2, we've got heating and hot water at the same time. Back to the middle, turns it off. Now that is why it's so important that you make sure that the boiler is full of water before you start trying to use the water heating. You know, sometimes you can come up here, you can just sort of go, okay, I want some hot water. Let's go up here to the top on this one so we can get the hot water. We've got it on gas. And then sometimes you'll forget, you know, you'll think, oh, actually, I haven't got any water in the boiler, but I've had it on for the last half an hour. And sometimes it's too late by that point, you know, it's just got too hot and overheated. But yeah, so it's just really important. Make sure that your boiler drains down flat like it is now. Make sure that you've got water coming through the tap on the hot side, just to make sure that you're definitely pressurized. And then you can go ahead and use the hot water however you want to. Now, I will mention as well, for obvious reasons, you can use the heating separately. So you don't have to have hot water in the tank in order to use the heating. So if you wanted to just use the heating, as I said, you can just literally select 1 down, and that'll just be your heating only. And you can use that without any water in it. I would always sort of recommend, if you can fill the tank up before using it on anything, then I would personally. But there you go. It's just up to you, really. It's just when you're trying to use the hot water, you just need to make sure 100% that you've made sure that you've got water in the boiler itself. The bathroom, as I said, you've just got a hot and cold tap just there with an extendable top there, so you can use it as a shower hose up in this bit up here. The toilet is the only part that I tend to actually explain in the bathrooms. So you've literally got a handle just down here on the front. When you push that handle to the right, it opens up the flap inside here. It just drains whatever's inside here into the cassette. Make sure that you pull this back when you're done. And you've got a blue button up here, which is your flush fluid. So you just basically press the blue button for your flush and then drain it out from here. Make sure that you pull this flap back, because if you, well, 2 reasons. If you leave that in the open position, you're going to get all of your smells from the cassette coming into the van. But also, if you leave it in the open position, you've then locked it from the inside, so you won't be able to take the cassette out from outside. So just bear that in mind, really. So the last thing is going to be the gas locker, which I managed to forget because it's behind the sliding door. So gas locker itself is to be honest, a very, very good sized locker. For a smaller van, these are normally a little bit smaller. So you've got space in here for 2 6-kilo propane bottles, so that's 2 of these bottles here. You've got 2024 on the date for the pigtail hose there, so that's this part here. And so you've got 5 years to replace that, as in from 2024. So to turn the bottle on, we go anti-clockwise around to the left. That turns the bottle on, and then clockwise all the way around to the right, so all the way down basically, we'll turn the bottle off. I'll just turn that off now because I don't need it on anymore. Like so, that is now off. Sometimes with this particular van, because you've got a crash sensor on the regulator, which is this little part here, you might find that the crash sensor has, sometimes basically they can get confused and think that you've been in a crash. Sometimes if you go over a big bump or something, it will think that you've been in a crash even if you haven't. And so if you want to, you know, if you find that you turn the bottle on one day and then you go inside the van and you can't get any gas to come through, you need to just basically come through to this bit here and press this little button in for a couple of seconds, and that basically just allows the gas to go through the crash sensor again. It's just like a purge button for that. So that is it. So clockwise all the way around to the right until it stops, and that is now switched off completely. So I think I've covered everything. I don't think there's anything I've missed out, but if there is something that you think I've missed out or anything you want going over again, just give us a shout. But otherwise, we look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks very much.